Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the glamorous, scandalous, and ever-evolving world of your favorite daytime dramas. Today is a spectacular day to unpack one of the most explosive moments we have ever witnessed on television, a moment that has fundamentally shifted the balance of power in Los Angeles forever. Let us dive straight into the heart of the drama. The atmosphere inside the grand venue for the Logan brand's highly anticipated fashion launch was nothing short of electric. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume, the hum of eager whispers, and the palpable tension of a city waiting to see if Katie Logan Spencer and Bill Spencer could truly rival the legacy of Forrester Creations. Flashbulbs popped like staccato lightning, illuminating the faces of the fashion industry's most elite critics, influencers, and buyers. This was not merely a runway show. It was a declaration of war, a lavish spectacle designed to cement the Logan name as an unstoppable force in the global market. The sheer opulence of the event, broadcasted live on massive billboards and streaming platforms worldwide, set the perfect, high-stakes stage for what would soon become a night of unprecedented drama, shifting allegiances, and absolute corporate devastation. Striding into this lion's den was none other than Steffy Forrester Finnegan, cloaked in her signature armor of haute couture and unyielding arrogance. She had not come to support her rivals, nor had she come out of genuine curiosity. She had come to gloat. In Steffy's mind, the Logan brand was a temporary nuisance, a fleeting distraction that could never truly compete with the legendary Forrester name. She believed she was walking into a disaster, fully expecting to mock a lackluster presentation and revel in Katie's failure. More importantly, she was entirely convinced that Hope Logan Spencer was currently at home, licking her wounds and sulking through a temporary, emotional break from Forrester Creations. Steffy's condescending smirk was firmly in place as she took her spot near the front of the runway, ready to witness what she assumed would be the spectacular, embarrassing failure of the latest vanity project from the Spencer and Logan alliance. However, the moment the house lights dimmed and the pulsating, rhythmic bass of the runway music began to echo through the cavernous hall, Steffy's confident smirk began to falter. The massive digital screens behind the runway flickered to life, displaying a brand logo and a cinematic introduction that sent a sudden, icy jolt of realization straight to Steffy's core. When the spotlight finally hit the head of the runway, it was not Katie or Bill who stepped out to introduce the line to the world. It was Hope Logan Spencer. She did not look like a defeated, marginalized employee taking a mental health break to recover from Steffy's corporate bullying. She looked like a conquering queen, radiant, empowered, and entirely in control of her destiny. The sheer magnitude of the deception hit Steffy like a physical blow to the chest. Hope had not been resting. She had been silently, meticulously building a powerful rival empire right under Steffy's nose. As the models began their fierce, synchronized march down the runway, the true genius of the new Logan line was unveiled, and it was absolutely breathtaking. The designs were the unmistakable, brilliant masterpieces of Deke Sharp, but they were elevated, infused with Hope's unique, visionary perspective. It was a perfect marriage of Deke's edgy, modern tailoring and Hope's ethereal, inclusive aesthetic. The garments flowed with a rebellious yet elegant energy, capturing the exact youth demographic that Steffy had so arrogantly dismissed in favor of Eric Forrester's traditional couture. The crowd erupted into rapturous applause. Renowned fashion critics nodded in fervent approval, furiously jotting down notes of high praise and whispering excitedly to one another. It was an undeniable, resounding triumph, a collection that instantly rendered Forrester's current, stagnant offering stale by comparison. Watching the overwhelming success unfold before her very eyes, Steffy experienced a catastrophic internal meltdown. Her ego, usually an impenetrable fortress of self-assurance, began to crumble rapidly under the crushing weight of her own hubris. Every round of applause for Hope felt like a direct, stinging slap to Steffy's face. She realized, with a sickening drop in her stomach, that her relentless bullying, her dismissive attitude, and her stubborn refusal to prioritize the hope for the future line had not broken Hope's spirit as she had intended. Instead, it had provided the exact, explosive catalyst Hope needed to defect to the enemy. Steffy had practically handed the Logan brand their greatest weapon on a silver platter. The realization that she had been completely blind to this monumental betrayal, while arrogantly believing she held all the cards, ignited a blinding, irrational fury within her. Unable to contain the volcanic eruption of her anger and wounded pride, Steffy lost all semblance of professional control. As Hope and Deke stepped onto the runway for their final bow, basking in the standing ovation and the blinding flashes of the press, Steffy stormed the stage. It was a shocking, unprecedented breach of industry etiquette, a moment that would live in infamy. Right there on the live global broadcast streaming to millions of viewers, Steffy launched into a vicious, screaming tirade. She pointed an accusatory finger at Hope, her voice shrill and echoing through the venue's sensitive microphones, accusing her of betrayal, corporate theft, and deceit. The celebratory music abruptly cut off, replaced by the horrified, collective gasps of the elite audience. Steffy's face was contorted with pure rage, her carefully curated image of a poised, powerful soul shattering into a million jagged pieces for the entire world to witness in real time. In stark, devastating contrast to Steffy's completely unhinged outburst, Hope remained an absolute pillar of icy composure. She did not raise her voice, nor did she shrink away from Steffy's venomous, public attacks. Instead, Hope stood tall, offering a serene, almost pitying smile that only served to infuriate Steffy further. Hope calmly addressed the cameras and the audience, framing Steffy's meltdown not as an unprovoked attack, but as a tragic display of deep insecurity from a legacy brand unable to handle true, modern innovation. This was the brilliant masterstroke of Hope's long-game psychological warfare. By remaining the consummate, graceful professional while Steffy screamed and flailed like a petulant child denied a toy, Hope cemented her own status as the mature visionary, effortlessly manipulating the narrative to make Steffy look completely unstable and entirely out of her depth. The fallout from the live confrontation was instantaneous, nuclear, and completely uncontainable. Within seconds, high-definition clips of Steffy's runway meltdown were trending globally across every major social media platform. The media frenzy was unlike anything the Los Angeles fashion scene had ever witnessed in its storied history. Headlines blared across news sites and gossip columns, declaring the fall of the Forrester Queen and the rise of the Logan Empire. Fashion bloggers and esteemed industry titans alike condemned Steffy's behavior as a catastrophic embarrassment, a desperate, pathetic attempt to ruin a competitor's well-earned success. Forrester Creations' public relations department was thrown into immediate, chaotic overdrive, desperately trying to scrub the internet of the humiliating footage, issue apologies, and spin the narrative, but it was far too late. The damage to the Forrester brand's prestige was profound and, perhaps, completely irreversible. Behind the closed, mahogany doors of the Forrester Creations boardroom, the reaction to Steffy's public breakdown was swift, merciless, and completely unforgiving. The company's major shareholders, elite investors, and board members were thrown into a state of absolute, unmitigated panic. They had already been harboring quiet, growing concerns about Steffy's unilateral, stubborn decision to halt the highly profitable Hope for the Future line, but this unhinged public spectacle was the final, devastating straw. Emergency meetings were convened in the dead of night, with international investors dialing in to express their outrage. The shareholders viewed Steffy's inability to control her emotions on a global stage as a massive, existential liability to the company's financial future. They openly and aggressively questioned her psychological stability, her basic judgment, and her fundamental competence to lead a multi-million-dollar international corporation in times of crisis. The immense, crushing pressure of a shareholder's panic fell squarely and heavily onto the shoulders of Ridge Forrester. His phone rang incessantly with demands for immediate, decisive, and highly visible action. The board was no longer politely asking for a change in strategy. They were demanding that Steffy be stripped of her co-CEO title immediately to protect the company's rapidly plummeting stock value and salvage whatever dignity the brand had left. Ridge found himself trapped in a devastating professional and paternal nightmare. He remembered the prophetic, dire warnings delivered by Carter Walton, who had explicitly cautioned that Steffy's arrogant leadership style and alienation of key talent would lead to catastrophic, unavoidable consequences. Ridge realized with a heavy, breaking heart that Carter had been entirely, painfully correct. The time for protecting his daughter's fragile ego had passed. The very survival of Forrester Creations was now at stake. Ridge paced his grand office. The immense weight of the legacy Eric Forrester had built pressing down on him like a physical burden. He had previously defended Steffy against Brooks' attempts to seize the co-CEO role, believing deeply in his daughter's strength, vision, and capability. But that strength had morphed into unchecked tyranny, and her confidence had curdled into toxic, blinding delusion. How could he possibly justify keeping Steffy at the helm when she had just handed their greatest rivals a monumental public relations victory, while simultaneously humiliating their own brand on a global scale? The shareholders made it explicitly, undeniably clear. If Ridge did not demote Steffy immediately, they would initiate a formal vote of no confidence to forcibly remove them both from power. Ridge was forced to confront the agonizing, soul-crushing reality that he had to sacrifice his own daughter's career to save the family empire from total ruin. Meanwhile, in the quiet, devastating aftermath of her public humiliation, the adrenaline finally drained from Steffy's veins, leaving behind a cold, hollow, and terrifying realization. Sitting alone in her office, replaying the disastrous, career-ending events in her mind over and over, the horrifying truth finally dawned on her with crystal clarity. She had not just lost a public relations battle. She had been completely, thoroughly outplayed in a masterful game of psychological chess. Hope's sudden, quiet retreat from Forrester Creations had never been a surrender. It had been a carefully laid, expertly executed trap. Hope had perfectly anticipated Steffy's arrogance, knowing with absolute certainty that Steffy would underestimate her and assume she was simply taking a break to cry. Steffy realized, with a wave of profound nausea, that she had walked blindly into the snare, allowing her own unchecked ego and blinding hatred to orchestrate her spectacular public downfall. This profound, devastating epiphany shattered the very last remnants of Steffy's superiority complex. She had always viewed Hope Logan as soft, overly emotional, and fundamentally incapable of true corporate ruthlessness. But the woman who stood on that runway, commanding the world's attention and orchestrating the complete destruction of Steffy's reputation with a serene, pitying smile, was a formidable, terrifying adversary. Hope Logan had evolved, shedding her historical victimhood to become a master manipulator and a ruthless titan of industry. The balance of power in Los Angeles had unequivocally, permanently shifted. As Ridge prepared to walk through her door and deliver the crushing, inevitable blow of her demotion, Steffy was left to grapple with the bitter, inescapable fact that in her desperate, obsessive attempt to destroy Hope's future, she had ultimately and entirely destroyed her own. The grand launch at the Logan brand will forever be remembered in the annals of fashion history, not just for the breathtaking, visionary designs of Deke Sharp, but as the exact night the mighty Forrester dynasty cracked under the immense weight of its own hubris. Hope Logan Spencer has officially drawn the battle lines, proving to the world that she is no longer a mere pawn in the endless, generational war between the families, but a powerful queen capable of claiming the entire board. As Forrester Creations scrambles desperately to salvage its ruined reputation, and Ridge prepares to make the hardest, most heartbreaking decision of his life, one thing is absolutely certain. the fashion world will never be the same. The Logan empire is rising with unstoppable momentum, and the reign of Steffy Forrester Finnegan has met a tragic, entirely self-inflicted end.